It's Thursday, the 9th of February, 2023. Welcome to the Fast Five by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories in 5 minutes. Let's jump into it. Story number 1. President Joe Biden, in his State of the Union address yesterday, emphasised economic gains and his past legislative accomplishments in a speech that was kind of really heavily focused on domestic issues, wasn't it?
It was. The State of the Union is always a massive event and an opportunity for the President to outline his next 12 months of priorities. He highlighted his policies, including efforts to lower drug prices and invest in infrastructure and domestic chip manufacturing. They was very cautious on the economic outlook. He basically said it was too early to say there'd been a recovery. He wants to increase taxes on corporates and wealthy, calling for a billionaire's minimum tax. He also said 55 of the largest corporations in the country make $540 billion in profits and paid zero federal taxes. Pretty incredible. Biden called climate change an existential threat, but conceded the US will need to continue to rely on oil and gas for a while yet. On international relations, he addressed the rising tensions with China, saying while the US seeks competition, not conflict, he makes no apologies for investing to make America stronger. His most ominous line was something along the lines of, if China threatens our sovereignty, we will act to protect our country. He also said the US will keep looking after the Ukrainian President, Volodymyr Zelensky, and he called America the only country in the world built on an idea. It's just great theatre, Michael. Some of the people that attended yesterday included U2 frontman Bono. The Ukrainian ambassador to the US was there as well. And Michael, the parents of Tyree Nichols, the 29-year-old black man beaten to death by police in Memphis, were also there.
All right, on to story number 2, Sean, and big news out of Canberra yesterday. Environment Minister Tanya Plibersek has banned Clive Palmer's Central Queensland coal project because it would cause irreversible damage to coastal habitats and send sediment into the Great Barrier Reef.
The decision is the first ever ministerial refusal of a coal mine under Australia's Environmental Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act. The mine's located less than 10 kilometres from the reef. It's about 130 kilometres northwest of Rocky. It's scheduled to produce up to 10 million tonnes of coal per year for export. Plibersek said the risks to the Great Barrier Reef, freshwater creeks and groundwater are just too great to allow it to go ahead. Now, it follows almost 6 months of consultation. It involved 9,000 public comments. About 98% of those 9,000 public comments supported the rejection of the mine.
Wow, that's pretty overwhelming. Story number 3, Sean, we talked yesterday about the decision by the Board of the Reserve Bank to increase the official cash rate. Now we've got ANZ boss Shane Elliott warning that home loan rates are entering dangerous territory for customers who borrowed to their limit when rates were low.
Yes, he said the 25 basis point increase this week meant customers will be paying more than the buffer built in when the bank calculated their ability to meet loan repayments. The ANZ boss said the lowest home loan rate the lender gave was 1.94%, and they assumed rates could go up to 5.25% and made decisions on lending on that criteria. But the standard variable rate is now higher than that. The standard variable rate, in fact, is much higher than that. Elliott said up till now, people had handled the situation pretty well, but now it's really going to bite. People are going to have to eat into savings. We have to be very careful.
Sean, story number 4, a really serious one. BHP has suspended its iron ore operations after one of its trains hit and killed a worker on the outskirts of Port Hedland in WA.
Health and safety is taken very, very seriously in mining, and the big Australian now faces multiple investigations over the tragedy. The worker was hit about 9:30 p.m. on Tuesday night. It's the first death in the state's mining industry since last October, when 2 workers died in 72 hours in separate incidents, unrelated to BHP in those cases. And it comes more than 4 years after a major safety investigation by BHP following a runaway train. It was driverless and it was derailed. Anyway, very, very sad.
Yes, indeed. Story number 5, Sean. A problem in space, it seems. Record numbers of satellites launched by China, Russia, and the US are crowding Earth's orbit.
Oh, there's a lot of garbage up there. Satellites, rocket fuselages, things like that. Basically, they've got the potential to destroy hundreds of millions of dollars worth of technology. And that, Michael, in turn would disrupt things like phone systems, car navigation, the internet, TVs, financial transactions. Over the past decade or so, the number of satellites launched has increased 17 times. It's about 90 countries now that have something in orbit. In fact, the US Department of Defense now tracks around 27,000 pieces of junk. If you throw in what Elon Musk plans to do, he wants to put up about 12,000 satellites in coming years, you can see that the problem is going to be even bigger. Japanese private group Sky Perfect, according to Nikkei Asia, is pioneering some pretty sci-fi solutions to clean space up. For example, Michael, it's testing the use of satellite-mounted lasers, which either knocks junk off its orbit or destroys it. And the US and Japanese governments are working on tracking space junk. Michael, definitely a problem for the future.
Yeah, what a story. There we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Thursday, the 9th of February, 2023. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. And if 5 minutes isn't enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed, wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget as well to check out our sister podcast, which is called How Do They Afford That? This week, it's all about how to get started in investing in shares. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.